1440s in Ireland. And in 16th time you spent up on a horse in Ireland.
I spent a great deal of time up on a horse in Ireland. And the local gentry, the Anglo-Irish, were the people who were the neighborhood, really. But the neighborhood stretched quite far and wide. The neighborhood would have been an 80-mile radius or so. The children of the Anglo-Irish were pretty much the children I spent my childhood with, although my real time was spent with the son and daughter of the man who looked after my father's horses, Paddy Lynch. My first memories are of Ireland. Dad lived us there in 1953. He'd visited Ireland 2 years earlier in 1951, before I was born. He'd been invited by Una, Lady Arnor Brown, to stay at her house, Ludlow, and attend a hunt ball in Dublin at the Russian Hotel. Dad had watched as the members of the legendary Galway Blazers played a game of follow the leader that involved angry waiters swinging champagne buckets and young men leaping off the balcony onto the dining tables as the music played on into the night and the whiskey flowed. Dad had said that he expected someone would be killed before the ball was over. In the days following, he fell in love with the scenic beauty of the country. I remember being in bed at Courtown House, a tall, grey stone Victorian manor that Mum and Dad were renting in County Kildare. Mum came into my room, wrapped me in a blanket, and carried me downstairs. The house was dark and silent. Outside on the front steps in the frosted night, Dad held Tony in his arms. The sky was raining meteors. I remember Mum saying, "If you make a wish, it will come true." And together, the four of us watched the mysterious passage of the dying stars fading through the firmament. Tony and I were given rocking horses at Christmas, at least his rocked. It was dark, dapple gray, had a red patent leather saddle and bridle, and plunged back on its base like a bucking bronco. My horse was heavy, mottled brown, made of painted tin. It humped up and down according to the pressure applied to its foot pedals, and groaned like something in pain. I found the disparity between them highly irritating. I cried pitifully when Tony refused to let me up on his, even for a few minutes. The famous combat photographer Robert Capa came to Courtown and was one of the first to take pictures of Tony and me as toddlers, crawling on a polished wood floor, wide-eyed, like two little birds that had fallen out of their nest. Tony and I would sit on the upstairs landing at the top of the long quadrangle staircase to say goodnight, and ask me if I could fasten the little crystal-cut buttons at the nape of her pale linen silk blouse. She'd been a debutante, a well-born Anglo-Irish girl, cheerful and innocent. Now, in her late 20s, she was sportive, fun, pretty, and an exceptionally fine horsewoman. She lived in the nearby village of Kilcullen, hand-me-down from Tony. I hated the look and feel of it when it was zipped up tight to my chin. It made me claustrophobic. Bet taught Tony and me how to make an apple pie bed, with the sheet folded back on itself halfway as a practical joke, so the victim would not get into bed. And when Dad's friend, the producer Ray Stark, came to stay, she showed us how to place and activate an electric razor between the sheets so as to terrify him during the night. Another visitor was Count Friedrich von Ledenburg, a member of the Austrian cavalry and a legendary horseman who was married to Iris Treat, the daughter of Sir Herbert Beerbohm Treat. Friedrich was even taller than Dad and had piercing eyes and sharply defined, always immaculately dressed, with a bowler hat on her head and her ballet toes pointed outward. At the first wall she and Waterford came across, the horse would refuse, and Mum would come tumbling down. She broke her wrist in one fall, but as Dad later told the story one day stunningly, Waterford cleared all the jumps. My mother had lasted through the hunt. It was a triumph. The 50-odd riders were clattering back down Doreen's back roads until they came to a farm. Somebody opened